Frederick, this isn't easy for me, but my decision is final. The wedding is off. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, leaving a silence in their wake. But Vanessa, can't we? No, Frederick. There's too much hurt, too much betrayal. I can't marry you. Not after everything. Jessica reached out, her expression one of understanding and grief. Vanessa, are you sure? Think about the backlash, the talk. This will affect not just you, but all of us. Vanessa met her mother's gaze, her resolve still. I'm aware of the consequences, Mom. But this is about my happiness, my trust. I can't go through with the marriage knowing what I know now. My decision is not just about today, but about the rest of my life.
You are welcome to another enlightening story desk.
Long time ago in the city of Accra, Ghana, lived a young lady called Vanessa. Vanessa, a vibrant woman with a contagious smile, was playfully arguing with her mother, Jessica, about the best way to bake their family's secret recipe chocolate cake. Mom, you know the frosting needs more cocoa powder. It's supposed to be decadent, remember? Vanessa teased, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Jessica, a woman whose age had only enhanced her beauty, chuckled in response. My dear, I've been making this cake since before you were born. I think I know a thing or two about decadence. Their playful banter was interrupted by the sound of the front door opening. Frederick, Vanessa's fiancé, walked in, his face lighting up at the scene before him. What's all this laughter about? Am I missing the party? Jessica greeted him with a warm smile. Just debating over the cake recipe, as usual. Frederick, tell Vanessa that the cake is perfect as it is. Frederick, caught in the middle, raised his hands in mock surrender. I'm not getting involved in this. Last time I did, I ended up on dish duty for a week. Laughter filled the room again as they continued their baking, the easy camaraderie between them painting a picture of a happy family. As they moved to the living room with their freshly baked cake, the atmosphere was light, filled with stories and plans for Vanessa and Frederick's upcoming wedding. However, as the evening wore on, a subtle shift occurred. Jessica's laughter came less frequently, and her glances towards Frederick were tinged with an emotion that was hard to place. When Vanessa excused herself to take a phone call, the room's previously warm air felt suddenly charged. Jessica, is everything okay? You seem a bit off today, Frederick asked, concern creasing his forehead. Jessica looked at Frederick, her expression a complex mix of affection and sorrow. I'm fine, Frederick. Just a bit tired, I guess. You know, with the wedding preparations and all. Frederick nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. If you say so. Just remember, we're here for you. You're not just Vanessa's mother, you're family to me too. Jessica forced a smile, her heart heavy with a secret that threatened to shatter the idyllic scene. Thank you, Frederick. That means a lot to me. As Vanessa returned, the conversation shifted back to lighter topics, but Jessica remained quiet, lost in her thoughts. The guilt that gnawed at her was invisible to the others, a silent specter at the table. As the night came to a close and Frederick left, Vanessa noticed her mother's distant mood. Mom, are you sure you're okay? Jessica hugged her daughter, a tear escaping her eye. I'm fine, darling. Just tired, that's all. Go to bed, you need your rest. Vanessa, though worried, nodded and headed to her room. Jessica watched her go, the weight of her secret heavy on her shoulders. The bond she cherished with her daughter was built on trust and love, but Jessica knew that some truths, once revealed, could destroy everything. The episode ends with Jessica standing alone in the dimly lit kitchen, a single tear rolling down her cheek as she looks at a picture of Vanessa and Frederick, her heart aching with guilt and fear for the future. The once harmonious kitchen was now a silent witness to an unfolding drama that would shatter lives. Jessica found herself alone, lost in thought about the conversation that had inadvertently changed everything. It was a seemingly innocent moment that led to the betrayal. Frederick had stopped by to discuss wedding plans with Vanessa, but she was out running errands. The air was thick with tension, a stark contrast to their usual ease around each other. "Frederick, you seem distracted lately. Is everything okay with the wedding plans?" Jessica asked, breaking the silence. Frederick sighed, running his hands through his hair. "Honestly, Jessica, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. I love Vanessa, but I'm scared of the commitment. It's all happening so fast." Jessica moved closer, her voice softening. "It's natural to feel that way, Frederick. But remember, love is about overcoming fears together." Their eyes met, and something shifted. The line between concern and intimacy blurred as Frederick found solace in Jessica's understanding. "I wish Vanessa and I had what you have, strength and wisdom." "I admire you, Jessica, more than you know," Frederick confessed, his gaze lingering. Jessica's heart fluttered, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years awakening. "Frederick, you're like a son to me. Any wisdom I have is yours too." But as their conversation deepened, so did their connection. The initial comfort they found in each other's company spiraled into a moment of weakness neither had anticipated. A comforting hug turned into a kiss, a line crossed, and a betrayal sealed. The sound of Vanessa's laughter echoed from the front door, snapping them back to reality. The door opened, and there stood Vanessa, radiant and oblivious to the storm brewing inside the house. "Hey, you two. What's this serious talk about? You look like you've solved all the world's problems without me." Vanessa joked, unaware of the guilt that clouded the room. Jessica forced a smile, her heart aching. "Just some wedding talk, darling. Nothing we can't handle." As Vanessa shared stories of her day, Jessica and Frederick exchanged panicked glances, the weight of their actions settling in. That night, Jessica lay awake, tormented by guilt. The betrayal wasn't just a moment of weakness, it was a betrayal of trust, of family. She thought of Vanessa, her bright future, her laughter, and the love she had for Frederick. A tear slipped down Jessica's cheek as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. "I've ruined everything," Jessica whispered to the darkness, a sense of dread enveloping her. The betrayal was more than a moment of passion, it was a shattering of the bond she cherished most. The morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains of Vanessa's room, casting a serene glow that belied the turmoil to come. It was a day like any other, with Vanessa humming a tune as she tidied up the house, her heart full of love for Frederick and her mother, Jessica. Little did she know that her world was about to come crashing down. As she made her way to the living room to do some dusting, Vanessa noticed Frederick's phone on the coffee table. It was buzzing continuously, indicating missed calls and messages. With an innocent intention to inform Frederick about his phone, Vanessa picked it up, only to see a message notification that would change everything. The preview of the message was enough to send a chill down her spine. It read, "We need to talk about what happened between us. It's eating me alive. Jessica." Confusion and disbelief washed over Vanessa. Her hands trembled as she unlocked the phone, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. The messages that followed were a mix of guilt, regret, and a plea for understanding. Each word was a hammer to Vanessa's heart, each sentence a betrayal she could never have imagined. Frozen in shock, Vanessa barely noticed the sound of footsteps until Jessica appeared in the doorway. "Vanessa, what's wrong, darling?" Jessica's voice broke the silence, but her words sounded distant, muffled by the roaring in Vanessa's ears. Vanessa turned to face her mother, the phone still in her hand, her eyes filled with tears and anger. "How could you?" she managed to say, her voice a whisper of pain. Jessica's face went pale, her worst fear realized. "Vanessa, please, let me explain," she stammered, taking a step forward. But Vanessa recoiled, as if touched by fire. "Explain? How do you explain this, Mom? How do you explain betraying me with Frederick?" The air between them was charged with tension, a gulf of betrayal separating mother and daughter. Jessica reached out, desperate to bridge the gap, but Vanessa was unyielding. "I trusted you both with my life, with my happiness. And you destroyed everything." Frederick chose that moment to enter the room, stopping dead in his tracks at the sight before him. Vanessa, I can explain, he began, his voice full of remorse. But Vanessa was beyond hearing explanations. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see either of you ever again, she said, her voice steadier now, her decision made. With those final words, Vanessa turned and walked away, leaving behind the shattered pieces of her trust and relationships. The living room, once a place of laughter and love, was now a silent witness to the end of a family. Jessica and Frederick were left standing in a void of regret and sorrow, their actions irrevocable, their lives forever changed. The discovery of the affair had not just shattered Vanessa's trust, it had dismantled a family, leaving behind a chasm of pain and betrayal. The tension in the air was palpable as Vanessa, her eyes red and swollen from tears, stood facing Jessica and Frederick. The living room, once a place of warmth and laughter, now felt like a courtroom. "Mom, how could you?" Vanessa's voice broke the heavy silence, her gaze fixed on Jessica. "How could you betray me like this?" With Frederick, of all people. Jessica, her own eyes brimming with tears, reached out towards Vanessa, her voice trembling. "Vanessa, please, it was a mistake. A moment of weakness. I never meant to hurt you." Vanessa recoiled from Jessica's touch, her expression hardening. "A mistake? You call this a mistake?" She then turned her fiery gaze towards Frederick, who stood silent, his head bowed in shame. "And you? I trusted you. How long has this been going on behind my back?" Frederick finally looked up, meeting Vanessa's eyes. "Vanessa, it was just once. I was confused. It meant nothing, I swear. Meant nothing." Vanessa laughed bitterly, her voice rising. "Our entire relationship meant nothing, then. My trust, my love, all a lie." Jessica intervened, desperation in her voice. "Vanessa, we both regret it deeply. Please, can we not find a way to move past this? Move past this." Vanessa's anger fled. "How do you expect me to move past this, Mom? You and the man I was going to marry." Frederick stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with regret. "Vanessa, I know I've broken your trust, and I can never undo what I've done. But I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Vanessa shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Love. Your love is worthless to me now. I can't even look at you the same way. And you?" She turned to Jessica. "I trusted you more than anyone in the world. You were my rock, and you shattered everything." The room fell silent, the weight of Vanessa's words hanging in the air. Jessica and Frederick stood motionless, their expressions a mix of guilt and despair. Vanessa took a deep breath, her decision clear in her heart. "I need time away from both of you. I can't deal with this right now." With those final words, Vanessa turned and walked out of the room, leaving Jessica and Frederick alone with their guilt and regret. The aftermath of their actions was a broken family and a shattered trust that would take more than apologies to mend. In the days following the confrontation, Vanessa found herself at a crossroads, her emotions a whirlwind of anger, betrayal, and heartache. The decision before her was monumental, not just for her but for everyone involved. It was during a quiet evening in her room, where the shadows danced softly on the walls, that Vanessa finally reached a resolution. The next morning, Vanessa called a meeting with Jessica and Frederick. The air was heavy with anticipation and dread as they gathered in the living room, the site of so many confrontations and revelations. "Vanessa, whatever you've decided, we're here for you," Jessica said, her voice laden with concern. Vanessa nodded, gathering her courage. "I've thought long and hard about this. About us, about what's happened. And I've made my decision." Frederick leaned forward, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Vanessa, Vanessa raised her hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "Frederick, this isn't easy for me, but my decision is final. The wedding is off." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, leaving a silence in their wake. "But Vanessa, can't we?" "No, Frederick. There's too much hurt, too much betrayal. I can't marry you. Not after everything. Jessica reached out, her expression one of understanding and grief. Vanessa, are you sure? Think about the backlash, the talk. This will affect not just you, but all of us. Vanessa met her mother's gaze, her resolve still. I'm aware of the consequences, Mom. But this is about my happiness, my trust. I can't go through with a marriage knowing what I know now. My decision is not just about today, but about the rest of my life. The room was silent once more, the magnitude of Vanessa's decision settling around them. Frederick finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Truly, I am. I hope one day you can forgive me. Vanessa looked at Frederick, her expression softening slightly. Maybe one day, Frederick. But not now. Not yet. As the meeting ended, Vanessa felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had faced her fears, made her decision, and though the path ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, she knew she had done the right thing for herself. In the days that followed, the news of the cancelled wedding spread like wildfire, eliciting whispers and stares from friends and strangers alike. Vanessa faced the backlash with dignity, supported by the love of her friends and the newfound strength within herself. It was a difficult time, but Vanessa remained firm in her decision, knowing that her happiness was worth fighting for. In the quiet of her room, Vanessa sat at her desk, a blank sheet of paper before her and a pen in her hand. The decision to write this letter had been one of the hardest she'd ever made. Every word she intended to write echoed the tumult of emotions swelling within her: betrayal, hurt, disbelief, and a profound sense of loss. Dear Mom, Vanessa began, her hand trembling slightly as she penned the words. The familiarity of the address weighed heavily on her heart, a stark reminder of a bond that was now fractured beyond recognition. For as long as I can remember, you were my confidant, my rock, the one person in this world I believed I could always rely on. But what you've done has shattered that trust into pieces so small, I fear they can never be put back together. Vanessa paused, wiping away the tears that threatened to blur her vision. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before continuing. The revelation of your affair with Frederick has not just broken my heart, it has fundamentally changed how I see you and the world around me. I find myself questioning every memory, every moment we shared, wondering if the bond we had was ever real. She wrote of the dreams she had for her future, dreams that now lay in ruins at her feet. Of the wedding that was meant to be the happiest day of her life, now nothing more than a source of deep pain and regret. In light of this, I see no other path forward but to sever the ties that bind us. This letter is my way of formally disowning you. It is not a decision I make lightly, but one I believe is necessary for my own healing and growth. Vanessa's words flowed onto the paper, a torrent of grief and resolution. She detailed her pain, her sense of betrayal, and the indelible mark this episode had left on her soul. I need to rebuild my life, to find a way to trust and love again. But I cannot do that with the shadow of this betrayal looming over me. I hope, in time, you will understand why I had to make this choice, even if you can never forgive me for it. She concluded the letter with a final, heart-rending goodbye, a closure to a chapter of her life that she had once cherished above all else. Goodbye, Mom. I wish things could have been different. With a heavy heart, Vanessa folded the letter, sealing it in an envelope. The act of writing had been cathartic, a necessary step on the painful road to recovery. She knew the days ahead would be filled with challenges, but for the first time since the betrayal came to light, Vanessa felt a flicker of hope for the future, a belief that she could move past this and find happiness again. The dawn was breaking, casting a soft, golden light over the city as Vanessa stood at the window of her now almost empty bedroom. Today was the day she would leave everything behind, her home, her past, and the shadows that had grown too long and too dark in the light of recent events. Packing her suitcase the night before had been an exercise in confronting her memories, each item a reminder of a life that now felt like it belonged to someone else. Now, with her bags packed and her car keys in hand, Vanessa felt a tumult of emotion swelling within her. As she turned the key in the lock for the last time, a sense of finality washed over her. The house that had once been a sanctuary now felt like a prison she was desperate to escape. Stepping outside, the crisp morning air filled her lungs, offering a fleeting sense of liberation. Yet, with each step she took away from her home, the weight of loss and betrayal pressed heavily against her heart. The drive to the new state was long and gave Vanessa plenty of time to reflect. There was an undeniable thrill to the idea of starting anew, of leaving her old self and her pain behind. The open road before her was a blank canvas, promising new adventures and new stories to write. Yet, intermingled with the excitement was a profound sense of loss. She was leaving behind not just her home but a part of herself, the part that had believed in fairy tale endings and unbreakable bonds. Vanessa arrived in the new state as the sun was setting, the sky a blaze of colors that mirrored the tumult of her feelings. She had chosen this place for its promise of anonymity and a fresh start, a place where no one knew her name or her story. As she unpacked her things in her new apartment, the stark, empty walls echoed the emptiness she felt inside. That night, as Vanessa lay in bed, the silence of the apartment enveloping her, she realized that this departure was both an end and a beginning. She had left behind a life marred by betrayal and heartache, but ahead of her lay the unknown, teeming with possibilities. The freedom to redefine herself and her future was exhilarating, yet the uncertainty of what lay ahead was daunting. In this moment of solitude, Vanessa understood that her journey was not just about escaping the past but about embracing the future, with all its uncertainties and possibilities. The road to healing and rediscovery would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in a long time, Vanessa felt a flicker of hope. She had taken the first step towards reclaiming her life, and though the path ahead was uncharted, she was ready to face it with resilience and hope.
I kindly ask for your support in subscribing, sharing, and liking my YouTube channel. By subscribing, you will stay updated on all my latest content. Every subscriber, share, and like helps me to reach a larger audience and continue pursuing my passion for creating content. Your support means everything to me, and I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you who takes time to subscribe, share, and like my YouTube channel. Thank you for helping me on this journey, and I look forward to sharing more exciting content with you all in the future. Let's grow together and make great things happen.